Hello everyone, Ayen here, and today we're going to look at Sword of Soldan. Sword of Soldan is a hack and slash game by Discovery Software that came out on the Omega. Why I never played the Omega version, I heard it was quite good, but we're not here to play the good one. Oh no, we're here to play the flaming pile of host shit that is Sword of Soldan on the Sega Genesis. It should be noted that Discovery didn't create this version. This was made by Enterprise and published by EA Games. It's a scaled down version of the much superior Omega version, and man does it show. The graphics aren't too bad for the Genesis, and the sound is decent if you like hearing owl and grunts all the time. The only music is at the title screen. The game has two main characters, Soldan and Shardan. There's no difference between them except for design. You also need to be careful when picking one because just pressing the D-pad or certain direction will select them. Don't bother using A or anything. You'd think if you want to turn, you just press D-pad in the direction you want to go. But no, you have to hold down the B button and turn. Why do they have to make it so complicated? All I want to do is turn around. You also need to press it in forward to jump. For a long jump, you have to hold down the B button while pressing forward. Here's an idea. How about we have one button to jump and one button to turn around? Why is that so fucking hard? Attacking in this game is fucking tedious. You can barely get close enough to an enemy to do any damage to them. They'll sharp, cut, thrusts, and low thrust. Get used to tapping the C button because you're going to be doing a lot of it. Potions are your lifelines, and you need to mix them for different effects. There are potions to raise your hit point, your stamina with access health, and mash it to kill a single enemy. The empty bottles don't do anything on their own. Mix the right potions together and you can get a power up on your sword or become invisible for showing seconds, though they call that a shield for some reason. Shouldn't it be invisibility? If you collect up to 4 empty potions, you can skip the level. This says a lot when a game gives you a way to skip a level. The problem is the potions are completely random. If you don't get exactly what you need when you need it, you're fucked. There's only 7 levels in the game overall. That's right, they couldn't even afford to put all the stages from the Omega version in it. But it's so terrible, you don't care. I was just glad it's over. The first stage isn't anything fancy, just some grass in the sky. On the second stage, you're trying to avoid spikes that come out of the ground. The third level introduces you to little winged demons that are a pain in the ass and the shine. Fuck those guys. Full caution to the wind because all they know is rootless aggression. You need to shop, and then chop their fucking heads off. The master potion can bring them down to their knees pretty quickly if you have one on standby. You have to back up a little to cut their heads off, and if you take too long, they get back up at full health. The fourth level throws a bunch of zombies at you. At this point, you're used to killing things. I mean, it's a hack and slash game. You're supposed to kill shit. Try that here, and you're dead. Not only do the zombies spit shit at you, but they'll throw fire your way as soon as they die. What kind of zombie throws fire? I don't understand. The only way to get past the level is to jump to the right and keep moving. Let the zombies pass right through you and keep moving. At worst, you'll only die once. As if that isn't bad enough, you get to level 5. Pitfalls and giants. That sums up the whole thing. There is no way to tell where the pitfalls are. You just have to take a leap of faith. The problem? The giants. They'll stand right next to the pitfalls and will hit you back into them. The game will also shot potions right on top of them. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? A walkthrough I read online actually advises to skip this at all costs. When a walkthrough is telling you to skip a level, then you know it is a piece of shit. I managed to get past it on my own, but it was only out of pure dumb luck. If you have enough lives by then, there's a 6th level. You get attacked everywhere by those annoying winged demons I mentioned before. And then a magician who looks like the teacher from Karate Kid shows up. I can't say his name. After that, it's fire, spikes, and hammers. Oh my. The hammers and fire only take away some of your health, while the spike kills you right away. Then you need to jump on these planks to get across this lava pool. Why dodging fucking fire? Don't try to skip the level either because you can't. Needless to say, this is as far as I got. All I know is the last level contains the only boss fight in the whole game. And after that, you win. But do you really feel like you accomplished anything? I'll tell you what you accomplished. You accomplished wasting your time, tormenting yourself when you could have been doing anything else. There is no satisfaction with this game. There is no joy with this game. This game is an unholy abomination against God that needs to be cast in the fire and the ashes buried to the four corners of the earth to ensure that never again will anyone else suffer like the rest of us. You want to play a good hack and slash? Play Devil May Cry. Play Ninja Gaiden. Play God of War. Hell, play Sword of Soldan on Omega, but don't get it for the Genesis. Even if you see it for 99 cents at a garage sale, don't buy it. It's a waste of your money, and it's a waste of your time. Skip it. Shadow of the Beast 2 is a platform game developed by Reflection and published by Psygnosis. Like its predecessor, it was later ported to the Sega Genesis, and that's when the crap fest truly began. Electronic Arts. If it's not all game, we don't give a fuck. I did do a written review of the first game last December. If you want to check that out, check the video description if you're on YouTube. I'll go to the right of the screen if you're on my blog. To the game's credit, they managed to do some things right. It doesn't play so fast, enemies are flooding the screen every couple seconds. But they make up for that by having the game be one giant jigsaw puzzle. If you miss even one piece, the game is over. Does the game end after you miss this piece? No. The game goes on to create the illusion you can still win. When in shoot, you have to reset the game. It's like Top Gun when you miss the plane, only 10 times worse. First example of this is when you need to save this guy from being taken by an imp. Imping ain't easy. If the imp gets him, then you have to start over. And this is only a few seconds in. You need the guy to tell you which switch you have to turn to go up an elevator you find later. The game randomly generates which switch it is, so you have to read. If you press the wrong switch, the bridge with shards and you fall into acid. Yeah, there's acid in this game. More like the people who made it was on acid. Second example is when you have to break this boulder and push the stone that's led to the seesaw. Then you have to climb up the vine and jump down the other end to send the stone to the elevator above so the next one will go up. If you're too slow, the elevator will go up on its own and there's no way to reverse it. The goal of the game is to defeat Sealet, the beast lord who turned the player character into a monster in the last game. He's now in possession of your sister. He got your sister, man! But in order to defeat him, you need a magic weapon. To get the magic weapon, you need to take the scroll to the old man. But before you can get the scroll from the dragon Ballroom, interesting name for a dragon, you have to rescue his servant from Iswan. You with me so far? Prior to that, you need to take a detour into Goblin Town, which is impossible to find on your own, and pick up the axe. You can only have 4 items in the game at a time, and the only thing you can afford to part with is the scroll. If you forget to get that scroll on the way to the old man, you can't go back. Every time you try to jump on the log, you fall through and get carried off by the sea. This game is very unforgiving of mistakes. Very unforgiving. On the plus side, they only have one button to jump and turn. At least they were able to get that right. Your main means to attack before getting mashed is the mace. The harder you press the B button, the farther the mace can reach. You can cycle through all your items with the C button and use B to select them. Enemies in this game are crazy. You have trees shooting rocks, an infinite number of fits, imp, bats, cavemen, statues, and giants. Why is it everywhere I go I'm always followed by a fucking giant? Some of these enemies you can't kill. Don't even bother with the bats. The statues have to be tricked, and the giants need to be knocked into the acid in order to kill them. They're a pain in the ass because you have to jump and hit them over and over again until you reach the ledge. Wait a minute. Giant falling into acid? This game is whipping off the never-ending story too! There are no levels in the game. It's just one big area with different sections to explore. So it has more in common with Metroid and Castlevania in that respect. And that's where the comparisons end. I feel dirty just mentioning those games in the same breath as this piece of shit. I can't bitch about the graphics as much as I would like. In case you couldn't tell, I like the bit. But as you can see, the graphics are appealing and the art style complements the tone of the game rather well. And at least it actually has music, enjoyable music. I know it is insane much to claim this game is better than Sword of Soldan, but that game really set the ball low. At the end of the game, you face Sealet, who looks like the fucking Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper if he like to use fire, that is. Long story short, avoid the flames and don't get under him. The fire from the bottom of his staff will change your life before you know it. Again, like the Grim Reaper. As far as final boss fights go, it's kind of average. It's not bad or anything, but compared to other parts of the game, it's surprisingly easy to beat him. After he's defeated, you hold his skull over your head in victory and find that your baby sister was in his head the whole time. That's creepy. She is going to need a good wash after that. Unfortunately, I don't think they have soap. Fortunately, she isn't going to remember any of this when she grows up. I'm kind of envious. And that's Shadow of the Beast 2. More playable than the first one, but nonetheless a show to play. I hear the Mega version is harder, so take that as you will. There are a lot of great games to play on the Genesis. This ain't one of them. Skip it. Reached the end of the electronic ass trilogy. Dark Castle by Silicon Beast Software. The Genesis was only one of 9 platforms that suffer with the taint in the video game library. There's no point holding this off any longer. Let's do this. Can't even get drunk. The game takes forever at the title screen. It flashes from the pixel to black while the most uninspired music you ever heard sounds off from your stereo. You can't skip it the first time either. I tried every button I could and nothing. Eventually, the game takes you to the starting room. Believe it or not, there actually is a story to this game, but you never know that playing the Genesis version. Turns out the evil Black Knight, no, not that one, terrorized a bunch of townspeople. So Prince Duncan, yeah, he's a prince. Would you have ever guessed? What kind of a name is Duncan for a prince? Anyway, he decides to go to the Black Knight's castle by himself with nothing but rocks and knock the Black Knight on his ass. Yeah, Prince Duncan has balls. Oh, he's a fucking idiot. Gameplay is a hot mess. You're surrounded by enemies and it takes forever to line up your shot to do any damage with the rock. No, really. You have to move your arms around with the up and down buttons to aim. You're better off just running through the stages and hoping not to get hit. If you touch an enemy even a little bit, you're dead. You can be going down the stairs and one little burst will kill you. See? Now I'm dead. Worse than that, the guy falls over by taking the tiniest step. You have to jump to make it past this part. He can go down all these steps, but he can't cross over that small spot. You know what that's like? Me having to jump to get across my front post. The rope detecting in this game is horrible. Like on this stage, you have to get past all these ropes to make it to the Black Knight. But he never grabs onto this one rope in particular. Every time I get to this point, he misses and falls down to the dungeon. Not to mention there are some circles in the background you have to navigate between while avoiding enemies. Don't even bother trying to get out of the dungeon. It's impossible. They'll bat, rodent, and these assholes who throw projectiles at you. Enemies respawn almost instantly, so taking them out is a waste of your time. You're better off just killing yourself. Yeah, this game makes me want to kill myself. Ladders. Sweet merciful Jesus, the ladders in this game suck. Every time I try to go up or down, he'll move his arms instead. Right at the time I'm trying to avoid boulders or bats. Get up there. Get up there! Who tested this? A blind guy? You can rest assured he's blind and deaf. Now, if that's the case, the sound is the most obnoxious thing you'll ever hear. You're better off playing the whole game on mute. Fucking bat. I learned that standing over to the right here would keep you safe since the bats can't be bothered to fly all the way across the screen. They stop halfway and then fly back. Perfect spot to throw some rocks. To get past the Shaggy, you need to dump this cold bucket of water on him, because that's how that works, and it stuns them long enough to enter the next room. There you have some more platforming goodness, where if you make one wrong move, it's back to the dungeon with you. Are these guys practicing S&M or something? What are up with the graphics? It looked like somebody threw up all over the screen. I know it was only 1991, but that was the same year we got A Link to the Past. And that game looks awesome! There's no excuse for what a sloppy job they did all around. But you know what really sucks? You don't have to bother with any of these rooms. The door that has BK on it will lead you directly to the Black Knight. Once you beat the Black Knight, the game is over. If you can somehow master the bullshit controls and rope detecting, you can beat the game in 2 minutes flat. But don't bet much for your effort. Why would they do that? The door is supposed to be locked. I think I figured it out. They knew the game was going to be so bad, they decided to give you a shortcut. So you can play it, beat it, and throw it in the trash can where it belongs. This game is horrible! If somebody tell you the worst game they played was a Devil May Cry reboot, Oblivion, or Fallout 3, you take that motherfucker by the throat, sit them down, and make them play this piece of shit. And then they'll know what a really bad game looks like. Fucking up one time, I can understand. Everyone makes mistakes. Shite? That's when you should be telling yourself, okay, we either need to step up our game or stop trying. But 3 times? 3 fucking times? All on the Sega Genesis? What? Did Nintendo pay you guys to make a bunch of shitty ports to make the Genesis look fast so people will flock over to the Super Nintendo? Skip it. Street Fighter the movie. The game. They made a game based off a movie based off a game. Why would you do that? Did Capcom really think the movie would be so popular as to warrant a video game tie-in? We already had half a dozen Street Fighter 2s by that point. To make matters worse, Street Fighter Alpha came out the same year. What are you more likely to get? A game based off a terrible movie? Or a game that actually has to do with the series the movie was based on? There's no reason for this. Unless you plan to toast yourself like I am. Best sound in the world. Okay, second best. The game starts off with some video clips of the movie, and then cuts to the title screen. From there you have all your options. Movie battle, street battle, versus battle. Anybody want to play versus? and trial battle. Could they have used the word battle anymore? Movie battle is what you would bet, a mode that follows the events of the movie, albeit loosely, through the use of still images and text. You even have choices to make that affect the course of gameplay, all leading to Bison's base. Then you have the actual fighting. M. Bison? They start off the game with M. Bison? Way to break the first rule of Street Fighter, guys. There's no way to win. They made Bison unbeatable, like you find in certain RPGs. It does build him up as a super powerful badass, so I can't complain about that. Only downside to movie battle is that you're limited to Guile. None of the other characters are playable. That kinda sucks. The movie switched between several characters, so why not have that here? I guess it's just as well I play as Guile. I already have the cameo, but this more feels like it's missing something. Something important. Play the music.
It's official. You suck.
Street Battle is your most traditional Street Fighter mode. All your characters are here. You battle through every fighter leading you to Saga and Bison, and trash talk your opponent after you win. Each character has their own moveset, animation, and trademark moves like the Sonic Boom and Bison's flying attack. At the end, you get another pistol with text. How lazy is this game? Into the Matrix gets a lot of crap, but at least they had actual actors from the movie performing live-action cutscenes. This is just blah! But can you believe the hardest part about the game is the practice mode? I got farther in movie battle than I did in this. Guile is an absolute beast that can't be stopped. I tried again and again and I can't make any headway against him. I'm better off just jumping into the main game. Why would they make a training mode so hard? And don't they usually have the computer stationary so you get the chance to test out the moves? Here, he doesn't give you any breathing room. It was only 1995, so maybe a standard hasn't been set yet. You're better off plugging in the second controller and playing versus mode by yourself for practice. Not that I would have any experience doing that. In keeping with the spirit of the movie, Acclaim decided to go with live-action character sprites and more realistic-looking backshots. As realistic as the PlayStation in 1995 could get, they aren't too bad, but if you're more of a fan of the cartoon style of the other games, then this isn't for you. It has more in common with Mortal Kombat games than anything else, just without the excessive blood and violence. I guess in a strange way, this is the closest we'll get to the two games crossing over. The sound effects are nice and on par with other games, while the music leaves a little something to be desired. When you compare the music to the other games, it's a no contest. However, the music is a complete shit. It's actually enjoyable to listen to while playing the game. Honestly, after all the other crap I had to play, this game is a godsend. It's fun, challenging, and only crime is being associated with a horrible film. Do you have some money to burn? Then it's worth a winter at the very least. Otherwise, if you're tight on cash and want to try a Street Fighter game, I can't recommend the others enough. That concludes Street Fighter the movie video game. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more videos. Tune in next week as I tackle the absolute worst game on the Nintendo 64. See you soon! Try it! What can you say? What can you even say? This is the absolute worst game on the Nintendo 64. This game doesn't deserve to be on the N64 library. This game doesn't deserve to have the Superman name, and it sure as hell doesn't deserve the $9.99 price tag. Just looking at this game make me want to vomit. Let's get it over with. Why many people call it Superman 64 thanks to the N64 gimmick of slapping that number at the end of everything, the title is simply Superman. It was even going to have a PlayStation and Saturn port that was redone to make up for how much of a failure the N64 version was, but Titus' expiration of the Superman license went out and they were forced to cancel the project, leaving us with this piece of crap instead. But we can't give Titus all the blame. Thanks to all the constraints by DC and the WB, Titus ended up releasing an
unfinished product infested with glitches. This was back before passes, so if you got it, you were stuck with it. So thank you guys. Thank you for ruining Superman, like you did all these other times. First things first, we have this practice mode. Get the block of tests out of my face, please. Thank you. You're going through Wayne's because whatever. What gets me is after you beat up the Dark Shadow, he looks like a bug, but the game calls him a shadow. There's nothing left to do. You pick up power-ups for Superman's different abilities and fly around like an asshole. Over a decade later, and I still have no idea how to complete this stage. Once you get to the main game, you have more lanes to go through. If you want to save your friend and solve my maze. It's not a maze, Lex. It's onion rings in the sky. You are not clever. The thing about this is, you want to go fast because there's a time limit. But if you go too fast, you end up missing the lanes and have to go back. Look at this. This is a preview made for the game, and even they have trouble staying in the lanes. Look, he's stuck in a wall. You know a game is fucked up when even the previewer doesn't give enough of a damn to make the game look playable. You have to hold down the B button just enough to gain momentum, and then let go to keep from going too fast. Slightly tapping it every now and then to keep up speed. All while stealing with the control stick, which is a challenge in and of itself. The controls are so stiff it makes the simplest of tasks a stroll. If you do manage to get past the lanes, there are missions you can do. This is where you start to feel a little more like Superman. You're either saving people or beating up bad guys. Don't fuck the police! Woo! Wait, why are bullets hurting me? Are they made of kryptonite? I'm Superman. Superman! Have you never read a Superman comic in your life, you dumb fucks? Anyone who played this game knows the suffering that comes with this mission. Not only do you have to slowly approach the freeze breath icon, but you need to get extremely up close and personal with the tornado for your breath to work. And it takes forever for Superman to stop flying. I took my finger off the B button a while ago and he's still going at it. Fucking stop! Eventually you get to something that resembles an actual level, and you can do more than just fly through onion rings. New enemies, surroundings. I'm amazed! Did that box just blow up? The box is explode. A box made out of cardboard can go off like it's a fucking machine. What did they have in them? TNT?
Hold on. I have family in the trucking business I have to warn.
Man, they ain't explode in this place easier than an action flick. They blow if you pick them up, they blow if you throw them, they blow if you hit a wall. The enemies may as well be saying blow me at this point. Hell, that's what I had to do to get this damn game to play. Blow on it. The Nintendo 64 become the NES of this generation. I had to give Superman a blowjob. A blowjob! Did I just get knocked out by a door? I did. The door can hurt you. A fucking door can hurt Superman in this game.
You know, game, Superman has enough haters as it is. They don't need your help.
Why do I need power-ups to use Superman's abilities? They should come naturally to him. They're his powers, not upgrades. Spider-Man doesn't need a power-up the wall climb or use his weapon. He needs to refill his web cautious, but that's it. It should be fun to play as Superman. He has a lot of cool powers that anybody will want. I get wanting to provide a challenge, but there are other ways to do this. Give him enemies that can hurt him. Superman has a ton of villains that can do damage and give you a good fight. If you want to use machines, make a bunch of mini metallos. Anything but fucking bullets. Like why here? It makes sense for Mala to do damage to Superman. She's Kryptonian. They're on the same level. The robots firing in the background shouldn't even be an afterthought. The hit detection in this game is shit, and Superman is slow as fuck. You're already getting hit by bullets and you need to get close enough to land a punch. A lot of the time you can't tell if your punches are doing anything since the enemies don't have life balls. I only managed to beat Mala once, and after I did so I barely had enough life left to continue.
Fuck it. I'm using level select code. It's the only way we're gonna get any further in this game.
Let's see, just select the next Y then. Where are the wings? It's just fog and a compass.
The wings are gone. They're gone! They're finally fucking gone!
It actually feels like a Superman game. I'm playing a Superman game. Oh my god! It still sucks.
Apparently, I unlocked another difficulty.
There is an easy mode on the game you can play. I wasn't able to change it before and it changed after putting the code in, but here's the problem. You have to play the game on normal to finish it. It's one of those games.
Though the games I did easy is still pretty fucking hard, imagine going through all that pain, all that headache, just to find out you can't beat the game, and now you can't change the difficulty again. So you're stuck. You're stuck. You have nowhere to go. Why even make a cheat code if it's just gonna fuck you over?
Anyway, the other levels include Let's Cope, a well house, the Gawas of the Daily Planet, because the actual inside of the Daily Planet was too good for this game, and Star Labs. Each level plays like a maze and there's little to no indication of what to do. Half the time you're walking around in search of enemies. If you want to go faster, you have to fly. Sometimes you can't do either because Superman was just stopped for no reason. You can rescue Lois, only for her to get kidnapped again, then she disappears. Now what do? Look for her again? Start the level over? What? There's no explanation and the game is so broken, why put in the extra effort? What do you get out of it? A satisfying ending? All you get is a scene like at the beginning, only with Clark standing in Luthor's place. That's it. That's all you get for your time and effort. Superman 64 is a broken as hell game that never should have been released in the first place. It stands as a black taint on the N64 library that would never be cleaned no matter how much soap and water you use. You know what? I don't want to play anymore. I'm done.
Game? Meat knife.
Happy Halloween, everybody. It's just a couple more days before we break every rule our parents gave us. Don't talk to strangers, don't take candy from strangers, and don't dress up in silly costumes. And if they don't give you candy, you TP their house! While it's getting hard for me to get candy trick-or-treating these days, I can still celebrate the holiday in other ways. Like with this baby right here. Castlevania 64 came out in the beginning of 1999 and was the first game in the series to make the jump to 3D, introducing us to Reinhardt Snyder and Carrie Fernandez, the weapon vampire hunter of the Belmont line and a gifted orphan with magical power. Make your choice and embark on your new quest to slay Count Chocula once and for all, at least until the next game comes out. This was my introduction to the franchise. I watched my brother play Symphony of the Night, but I didn't play that until way later. Castlevania 64 is what got me into the series. Let's see how it holds up after all this time. We need this in all cartridges. They collect dust more often than my flow. We start the game off with some narration and a test scroll.
The province of Wallachia. In this time of peace and plenty,
Alpha Team is flying around the forest zone situated in northwest Raccoon City.
From there, we branch off to our playable character outside of Chocula's castle. There isn't much difference between the two characters apart from weapons and speed. Carrie can move faster and jumps a lot farther. Reinhardt has the whip and a sword while Carrie fights with a magic ball you can charge and the wings mask. Stunnass. The best thing about the projectile is that it has a homing system that can take out multiple enemies at once, whereas the whip can only hit in one direction. That's actually a step down from all the angles you had to swing it in older games, like a certain Super Nintendo game where you could swing it in 8 different directions. What the hell happened? Both get access to the classic Castlevania sidearms such as knives, axes, holy water, and crosses. Axe is the best out of all of them, I find. Maybe crosses and holy water would be beneficial for me if I had vampires to face, but you run into them the least amount of any creature. Overall, Carrie is by far the easiest character to play as. Why is it always the woman who's easy? The control stick is more sensitive than a penis. Whenever you have to carefully walk across something, it feels like it's going to slip and mess you up, which becomes a problem when your hands get sweaty. One false move and you're as good as dead. Then there's the camera. Oh my lord, the camera. It will make you nauseous. The camera spins around and around at places you don't want it to go, making it harder to jump across platforms and see where your enemies are. Even when you press R to place the camera behind you, it doesn't do much good. You can't move when you do that either. There are 3 camera modes in the game: normal, action, and battle mode, but I don't see much difference between them. They're all annoying and tend to move to the closest enemy on screen, even if you're just trying to run by. I think I'm going to be sick. Castlevania 64 gives you a targeted and auto-lock feature to help with fighting enemies, but as far as I can tell, there's no way to switch between them manually. I tried every button and nothing. It's a pain in the ass when you want to go after one guy and your projectile attacks somebody else. The game takes a lot of cues from Resident Evil. First person perspective entering doors, the way walls go across the screen, the big reveal, the first enemy you fight, and this room. Look at it. You tell me it doesn't look like the Spencer Manson's hallway. We also have a day-night system where certain events can can only be triggered at a certain time of day. This also includes character appearances and rooms, where you can either wait for the time to pass or use the day or night call to time skip. Be careful though, if you take more than 16 in-game days to beat the game, you'll get the bad ending. Konami gave us an atmosphere that represents the spirit of the franchise well while incorporating several survival horror elements into it to keep you on the edge of your seat. As far as making the switch from 2D to 3D goes, it isn't half bad. 13 levels make up the game, with alternating stages depending on which character you select. Same goes for enemies and bosses. They're all interconnected, so there's no official beginning or end to the levels, though you can't go back. Throughout these levels, we have enemies such as oh my god. Okay, no, I need to focus. We have skeletons, bats, vampires, spider women, lizard men, and the list goes on. Enemies in this game are relentless. You're never given enough time to take a breather and figure things out. It's just non-stop bad guys jumping in to kill you. Stage 3 is the first level where you can actually run around without threat of death everywhere you go. What I don't understand is why they don't use more voice acting. They show in several scenes that they can do it and then refer back to the usual text we use the N64 and Nintendo in general are notorious for. Why not go all the way with it? The voice acting isn't anything to write home about, but still, seems half-assed. Graphics aren't bad for the late 90s. If you grew up in that era like I did, there isn't a whole lot that stands out as terribly bad, except maybe Carrie's arms. Art style makes it feel very Halloween-y, something that can be unavoidable at times given the genre, but a lot of it feels like something meant to be played on Halloween, sometimes to an even generic level. It gives and takes. You either like it or you don't. Now for something that's a big pet peeve of mine. If you play the game on easy, you don't get the whole experience. It's even worse than Superman 64 because you only get the first 5 levels. Why would they do that? And how are you gonna know? You don't. You pick the difficulty you want, and if it's the wrong one, they give you a huge middle finger. Why even have an easy option at all? Just make us play the game on normal if you're gonna pull off that fucking shit. It doesn't make me want to play on a higher difficulty setting game. It just makes me want to throw you in the fucking garbage! Castlevania 64 suffers with only a few but very glaring flaws in design. Had they polished the controls, fixed the camera, and maybe add a bit more variety in the characters' attacks, it would be a lot more enjoyable. As it stands now, it's not a bad game if you can look past so far. It's not Symphony of the Night, but that doesn't have to be seen as a bad thing. PlayStation and Nintendo fans both got something different with their Castlevania, and it provides a nice bit of variety for fans. That concludes this Halloween. Stay tuned that next week we celebrate Thanksgiving month, a time of year where we give thanks for all the great games that came out from generation to generation. I'm Ayen, and here's to ya! Welcome to Thanksgiving month, a time of year where we give thanks to all the standout games throughout generations. And to start it off, I'm taking a look at 2 platforming mascots that went head to head in the 90s. Mario and Sonic 3. Super Mario Bros. 3 came out for the NES in North America in 1990, and Sonic 3 was released 4 years after that for the Sega Genesis. In Mario 3, you reprise the role of the infamous Italian plumber who lives in the Mushroom Kingdom. For Sonic 3, we're back with the lovable blue hedgehog who swallowed so much speed in his youth he never did fully recover. Now, this isn't the first time I pitted these guys against each other. Back when I did written reviews, I looked at the first and second set of games. Allow me to recap the scores for those of you who don't know. Mario 2, Sonic 0. Will this be the year Sonic finally manages an upset victory, or will Mario remain undefeated? Let's find out. You may have noticed I'm playing the Super Mario All-Stars version of the game. It's the only one I'm able to record. Mario 3 has a 1 step forward, 2 steps back approach, I feel. While they introduce new power-ups, mini games that gives you items and an overall map screen, we're back to only being able to play as one character, only bringing Luigi into the mix if you have a second player. Not to mention that Bowser returns. Granted, we have to go through his kids this time, but it's still Bowser. I understand that Mario 2 was literally an entirely different game before being reskinned, again, but it works so well I honestly never thought much of it as a kid, which is why going from that to this can feel like such a step back. Meanwhile, Sonic 3 is consistent with everything Sonic was up to that point. You still have the speed, TV power-ups, Tails is still, Robotnik robots, and they even introduced a new character in the form of Knuckles. You can also select to play as Sonic, Tails, or both, Knuckles being available if you hook the game up to Sonic and Knuckles. The multiplayer is largely unchanged from the second game. You can still race against a friend or have them join in the main game as Tails at any time. Tails is also made less of a clone of Sonic, unlike Poor Luigi, and can fly this time around. Even swim underwater. Point to Sonic. Mario is a little less linear this time, giving you different routes to go on the world map and rope shortcuts. The level design is pretty well made and gives the game its own identity that sets itself apart from the previous games. In fact, the first 3 games all had their own identities that made each game unique, something Sonic lacked despite the advancement it made. Who can forget the airship with cannons firing at all angles looking to take you down, alongside a screen that pushes to the right whether you like it or not, something that also makes up its own stage. Sonic 3 has something similar in the second zone with that stupid wall of death. Or a high shove when I need one. Still not as bad as the sun stage. Almost there. No! They even managed to make the castle look different while still being something we can recognize. Sonic levels aren't bad either. There's still the usual free-form running around as you figure out where to go and various checkpoints to discover along the way, as well as bonus stages. While Mario has always been about going right, sometimes Sonic needs to go in either direction in order to advance, bringing about a new dimension that the Mario games just don't have. It also makes it a bit more challenging and you have to figure out where to go. However, they do recycle the last game a little. First zone is a forest, second zone is a water level. Now that I think about it, that's true all the way back to the first Sonic. A lot of Wasp wins repeat going on around here. I have to give this point to Mario. We're now 1-1. What I don't like about either game is when you get a game over, they don't put you back to the last stage. If it happens in Mario, you have to play the whole world from the beginning. This isn't too bad as it gives you a chance to stock up on mushrooms and the likes to increase your chances for getting past the harder levels. In Sonic, you have to play the first act of that zone again, unless you find the bonus stage, which just becomes tedious after a while. Still better than having to start the whole game over, but still, minus points to both games. Just kidding. Enemy-wise, it kind of varies. Mario once again manages to have the more memorable villains, bringing back the Goomba and Koopa Troopa, while introducing enemies like the Thwomp and Boo. Sonic enemies continue to be as forgettable as they always are. There's just robots on the screen that don't make any lasting impression, for the common enemies at least. The bosses, a definite improvement. Instead of being the same sprite and animation, the mini-boss and final boss of each zone have enough variety to make each encounter different. You know what? I'm giving both the point. 2-2. Mario mostly tells this story through the use of test bosses, if you can call that a story, while Sonic goes for a more action-oriented approach. Whether it's Knuckles setting up a trap for Sonic or Dr. Robotnik dropping bombs on you, the game's clever use of its own mechanics for these cutscenes never once breaks your mission. I didn't dare let my finger off the D-pad to see if it was a cutscene or not. This one I have to give to the Hedgehog, bringing the score up to 2-3. Sonic has a 1-point lead over Mario? Nah, this ain't right. I overlooked something here. On graphics, I feel like I'm cheating since these aren't the original graphics for Mario 3. Mario and Luigi are better defined and the art style is suited to the original game, but I have to give the edge to Sonic. Mario is at a disadvantage here as the game made in the mid-90s is going to look better than a re-release of an older game given the graphics touch-up. And at times, I dare say the original graphics of the NES version looks better than what the Super Nintendo had. It's just not as good as Sonic's either way. Therefore, another point for Sonic. Mario isn't looking too good here. What about music? Both have amazing soundtracks and Mario has never failed to impress on the music side of things. The music does a great job of capturing the spirit of the games and you can't go wrong with either. I took the time to listen to both soundtracks on YouTube and I have to say, I think Sonic 3 music is just better. Not only does it work with the game's feel, but it stands on its own pretty well and it's something you can jam to. Sorry guys. It's 2-5. Going back to the multiplayer, I didn't get a chance to play it much. I know about it through research. While the battle arena for Mario is cool, it's more or less just a rehash of Mario Brother. They do have another factor of versus where you can die on purpose to make the other player do a hard level, whereas Sonic is more of a soft co-op when you're not racing. Again, you get to play each other at the same time instead of taking turns, so I have to give the point to Sonic. 2-6. I just ran out of things to compare, which means Sonic wins with a 4-point victory over Mario. Isn't that something? Please don't kill me, I have a family! Look, both are great games worthy of praise and a treat for anyone who enjoys classic 2D platformers, but Sonic just has a little something extra that puts it ahead of Mario. I'm not even that big of a Sonic fan, so this was so surprises me and must and is bound to surprise you. The Sonic series was consistent, has more character options, interesting bosses, great graphics, and a kicking soundtrack, and that was enough for our lovable Hedgehog to finally pick up the win at Thanksgiving month. The streak is over. I'm Ayen, and I hope to see you next week when I take on Super Metroid for the very first time. Until then, I have to go into hiding. Okay. I think I managed to avoid the wrath of Mario this week. Super Metroid is the third game in the Metroid franchise to be released in 1994 on the Super Nintendo. It would go on to become the standard for the 2D games to come after it, such as Fusion and Zero Mission. Once again, we take control of the bounty hunter Samus Ayen as she embarks on a mission to rescue the Metroid Lava that mistook Samus for his mother. Who's a cute little Metroid? You are? Yes, you are! Overall gameplay involves a glow in an open-ended area that's also cut off from the rest of the world, creating a feeling of isolation as well as exploration, a well mix. Armed with your trusty gun arm, it's your duty to navigate the area, fighting monsters and solving puzzles in order to advance. To do that, you need to find upgrades in order to get through doors, small gaps, and rooms you wouldn't otherwise be able to survive in. Super Metroid is the first game in the series to introduce a map and inventory screen in the pause menu. The map can be seen on the top right corner of the screen at all times, marking where the player's been and showing save locations. Under the inventory screen, you can equip and unequip different weapons and abilities as you see fit. Combine different weapon beams and recover your health through reserve tank, so if you have that set in auto, you don't have to worry about it. Save areas return from the second game and are spread out through different rooms. In addition to those, you can also save on Samus's L-ship that replenishes your health, another feature that will carry on to other entries, as opposed to the first game where if you got a game over or had to shut the system off, you needed to start from the beginning again. How did we ever play games without a save function? It surely was the dark age of gaming. Now that we got the mundane stuff out of the way, let's get into the meat and greedy. At the start of the game, you have your regular energy beam where you can jump and run through your surroundings, the later of which I forgot you can do. Even before you get the hyper jump, Samus can reach ridiculous bounds all by herself, and spinning in midair allows you to take out enemies. Pretty nifty. Your life also starts at 99%, and the closer you get to Shiro will trigger a loud, annoying beep that lets you know you're near death. Was Samus implanted with a pacemaker or something? This time around you can shoot in pretty much any direction like with Super Castlevania, and you can duck and shoot with comes in handy when fighting smaller enemies. The beam shoots a lot farther too, but beware, enemies won't freeze midair when you shoot at them this time. Suffice to say, you realize how dated the original Metroid game is once you give this one a whirl. One of the first upgrades you find is a missile, which you need in order to get through red doors. Different colored doors mean you need a different weapon to open them. Blue doors just require your default weapon, whereas a green door would need a super missile. By the way, there are super missiles. Nintendo was big on the S-Ball at the time. There's also the ever so reliable Morph Ball that drops bombs to destroy blocks and shoot you up to a higher gap. I like how the bombs are powerful enough to destroy blocks and whatnot, but Samus doesn't even suffer from the scraps. Not to mention the fact she can morph into a ball. Do you know how hard that would be to wrap yourself up in a ball and roll around like your Sonic the Hedgehog? Imagine the look on enemies' faces when she does that. End of the line, Samus. There's nowhere left for you to go.
Hey, get out from under my bed!
Another upgrade you find early on is the Shaw Shot. Just hold down X and get ready to dish out even more pain. This gives the game a kind of RPG fight, as not only can you make your character stronger through time, but you can gather more health as you progress. Whenever you're low on any of these things, you can find pipes that spawn random enemies to stock up on items, like farming in an RPG. It's just as tedious as in an RPG too. While the game does use cutscenes, the story is mostly told through the gameplay. A advantage the minion has over others with future games like the Elder Scrolls Scrolls, Portal, and Field would do years later. I don't know if it was the first to do this or even one of the first, but regardless, it's among games that have done it well. You're made to feel like you're right there with Samus as things begin to unravel, and it enhances the experience. Just the beginning with a blow in the lab and the reveal of Ridley is epic, getting you in the right mood to sink more of your time into it, increased by the design of the caves and the graphics, which still look pretty good even now despite being made in 1994. Super Metroid also gives a nice throwback to the first game by having you revisit the starting area, mainly because Samus returns to Sibs, and putting the self-destruct triggers at the beginning, which is how the first game ended. Something else that will be revisited in the future. What is it with Ridley appearing when something self-destructs? Because we're in Sibs again, a lot of the enemies of the previous game returned, with the addition of some new ones, all which provide their own level of challenge and annoyance. However, the main challenge isn't so much the enemies as it is the puzzles. It took me forever to figure out you're supposed to hit the ground here. Super Metroid is the game where you have to rely on dodge just as much as you need your wits, much like the bounty hunter herself. After playing the game for the first time, it's easy to see why Super Metroid is so beloved. It improves on the previous titles in every way imaginable and paves the way for 2 more masterpieces to come 8 years later. If you're into sci-fi, exploration, and puzzles, then Super Metroid has exactly everything you can want. Get it! I'm Ayen, and I'll see you next week as we travel through time with one more Super Nintendo classic. Until then, I have a bounty hunter to get Alfred on my bed. Hello and welcome to Ayen's Video Game Reviews. We're 3 weeks into Thanksgiving month, and today I'm looking at a game that everyone has been telling me I need to play. Chrono Trigger. Yeah, growing up, I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I didn't even own my own console until the N64 PlayStation era. Before that, I should play whatever my brother had, which was the NES and Sega Genesis. So I missed a lot of good games in my youth, this being one of them. But fret no longer as we go back in time to 1995 and the age where Square could do no wrong. I miss the 90s. Okay, not that much. The story begins like so many other stories that came before it, with a girl, woman, lady, human being. What do you want to be called? You're showing this human being around the fair until testing out a new machine that can teleport people. This machine ends up taking the human being back in time, causing you to follow suit. And while jumping from one time to the next, you learn that a terrifying creature called Lavos appeared, destroying all civilization and winning it to a barren wasteland in 1999. And it's up to you and your friends to travel through time to stop it in order to save the world. All I wanted to do was go to the fair! Gameplay is pretty standard for your typical 2D RPG. You're still blowing, talking to people for information, and collecting Nintendo merchandise.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
But where it starts to take off on its own is with the battle system. There's no interrupting the flow of the game or invisible enemy. All the monsters can be seen on the screen like in Super Mario RPG and can be avoided, except the ones who ambush you. The battle takes place on the exact same screen and both monsters and your characters move around, creating a more lively feeling than a lot of other RPGs had at the time. You can even see your friends shadow behind you, something both Phantasy Star and Final Fantasy VIII did. In addition to regular attacks, you have techniques. Techniques allow you to inflict more damage. You can even combine your techniques into doubles or triples, getting all your characters involved in a single attack. Later down the line at the end of time, your human characters learn magic. Each character having an element they can then show upon during battle. Chronos being lightning, Mel being water, you get the idea. I love this battle system and have no idea how I'm ever going to be able to go back to the old style. It's just that good. Like any good RPG, we have some fun minigames we can play, such as racing against the man and eating contests, because you don't truly know someone until you eat soup with them. Another unique aspect of the game is the time traveling. While traveling through time, you meet new characters, acquire different weapons and armor, and visit new landscapes. That is technically the same landscape in different eras. Reminds me of Secret of Evermore, but on a much larger scale. The end of time acting as a hub where you can enter each timeline as needed, switching between party members and being able to replenish your health on the way. These timelines include a prehistoric age, the Middle Ages, and a post-apocalyptic future. Each era having their own unique feel that sets them apart from one another, and it's easy to feel like you're really traveling through time as you do. And of course, what you do in the past can have an effect on what happens in the future. Be careful you don't step on any butterflies. Chrono is more your quiet protagonist whose personality is mostly left up to the player, making it easier to name him anything you want, including yourself. Yes, I am that person who named RPG characters after himself. Deal with it. The support cast more than makes up for the lack of personality for our MC. Mel is super active and full of energy, while Luca fulfills the role of the smart, tech-savvy human being rather well. and other characters like Frog, Warble, and Ayla are sheep to waltz. If at any time the art style looks familiar to you, that's because it was done by Ikara Toriyama, the creator of the Dragon Ball franchise. He also done the character design for Dragon Quest and Blue Dragon. A lot of the characters only look out of place in Dragon Ball, and the imps look like they came directly from Namek. If you're a fan of that style of animation, then the art style is going to be very appealing to you. Another thing that makes Chrono Trigger stand out from the West is the fact it has 13 endings. 13! All which are decided on how and when you reach and defeat the final boss, meaning you have to play through the game 13 different times if you wanted to see each ending. To make this feat a little easier, they even offer a new game plus where your level, techniques, and equipment carry over to the new game, so there is a lot of replayability to be had. Once again, the graphics for a Super Nintendo title has aged really well. It's kind of starting to bug me how 2D games made in the mid-90s can still look pretty good now, but the more advanced 3D games of the PS1 and N64 have aged more horribly, especially when it comes to the PlayStation. You'd think the system with the better specs would age more gratefully, but I guess the Super Nintendo is like a fine wine that turns yellow. Chrono Trigger is definitely a pioneer to role-playing games and something that all PCs can still learn a thing or two from. With its easy-to-learn battle system, simple storyline that isn't dumbed down, replay value, and lovable cast of characters, it's an RPG that both newcomers and experienced players can enjoy even to this day. Get it? I'm Ayen, and thanks for showing me on this trip down memory lane. We only have one more week of Thanksgiving month to go, and
hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center. We hope your brief detention in the relaxation vault has been a pleasant one. Your specimen has been processed.
this is some shippy stuff. Hello and welcome to Ayen's Video Game Reviews. Well, one day away from Thanksgiving with me, we have reached the end of November, and to cap things off, I thought I'd take a look at probably one of the strangest and most creative games to come out in recent years. Portal is a first-person puzzle platform game by Fowl Corporation, the people behind Steam, and came out for the PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3 as part of a bundle called Orangebot. It stars Shell, a blank slate character the player takes control of in a series of tests conducted at the Enrichment Center under the watchful guise of GLaDOS, an artificial intelligence created by Epistle Science. GLaDOS' voice is modeled after a woman, making Portal one of the few games out there that has both a female protagonist and antagonist. It took me 8 years to get to this game, so let's not waste any more time. This is Portal. The game starts off with you waking up in a room before a portal opens, leading you to the first test. These tests involve solving different puzzles through the use of portals, later acquiring your own portal gun, and your wits to go from one chamber to the next. You can open portals by shooting walls, floors, and the ceiling, provided they're designed to take it. You need to shoot at the right spot in the room to get to where you need to go. Once you get the orange portal later down the line, you can switch between blue and orange to connect the two portals to wherever you want. Not only does the thought and creativity in the game make Portal unique, but it demands just as much thought and creativity from the player in order to pass each obstacle. Figuring out a new way to use the portal gun to bypass the shamans were always fun, and there was a fine sense of accomplishment every single time you made it to the next chamber. The chambers becoming gradually more shamans in the further into the game you get. I swear I felt like I was becoming smaller with each new shamans. Most common obstacles are the cubes that you need in order to open doors. There was also a little spark of energy that bounced off walls that's needed to power up platforms and the likes. Watch out for toxic liquor that will kill you instantly if you fall into it. Naturally, some states they have to put that everywhere. Is this where the power plants are dumping all the toxic waste? First real hostile you run into are the gun turrets. Portal offers you no real way to fight like most first-person games do, so you have to outwit them. You can knock them over with cubes, pick them up from behind, and even make them fall through portals. Me? I should threw cubes at them through portals. That's right, kids. You too can defeat guns by using cubes. Just be sure to have your very own portal gun. Ah, the companion cube. Yes, in Test Chamber 17, you're given a weight cube with pink hearts on it that assists you for the remainder of the chamber, opening up doors and protecting you from entry balls that can kill you otherwise. You're with the cube just long enough to start to get attached to it before GLaDOS forces you to throw it into an incinerator! GLaDOS!
You euthanized your faithful companion cube more quickly than any test subject on record. Congratulations.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
The best thing about Portal is the fact a lot of the puzzles have different ways they can be solved, so there's no one-size-fits-all solution to the chambers. New maps being unlocked upon completion of the game to encourage and challenge alternative means of solving the puzzles, giving an extra layer of replay value to the game. Always remember your portal gun, very important. I was trying to get past this Tom control door after you push the button, waiting for the platform to get close enough for me to ride it to the other side, when all I had to do was teleport. Don't judge me! Portal is another game that showcases a story through gameplay, where GLaDOS will reveal more of the world to you as you advance, and includes clues left behind by a third party being found in writings on the walls. These clues aiding you against GLaDOS as you start to suspect there's something off about her. GLaDOS herself has so much personality, putting a lot of human characters I know to shame, and is a real highlight with her deadpan humor. And that voice, who can forget that voice?
Please note that we have added a consequence for failure. Any contact with the chamber floor will result in an unsatisfactory mark on your official testing record. The Enrichment Center reminds you that the weighted companion cube cannot speak. In the event that the weighted companion cube does speak, the Enrichment Center urges you to disregard its advice.
Didn't we have some fun, though? Remember when the platform was sliding into the fire pit and I said goodbye, and you were like, no word. And then I was all, we pretended we were going to murder you. That was great.
So near the end, you find yourself headed right for a furnace. How did I get in Toy Story 3? One teleport later, you go on a 6-part escape from the facility leading up to the final confrontation with GLaDOS, which acts as the only boss fight in the entire game. In case you couldn't guess by now, you don't get to fight her up front. Like with everything else, you have to outsmart her and destroy the machine pieces that fall to the floor.
It was a morality core they installed after I flooded the Enrichment Center with...
Oh. First off, you use the portals to make the gun turret fire on GLaDOS to knock the pieces off her. From there, you have to collect the pieces from behind a pipe, on top of a platform, and hang in the midair. All right under a time limit. Come on, come on. Grab it, grab it, grab it. Ah! I got it, I got it! For Companion Cube! Yes! I won! I won! GLaDOS is finished! Finished! I did it! I did it! GLaDOS is dead and I never have to go through this hell again! Son of a... Portal is something else. It's unlike any game I have ever experienced before, and I would definitely play again. With over-the-top gameplay that embraces insanity, dark humor, and genres and puzzles, Portal is a game you'll never grow tired of. I'm Ayen, and I'll see you next week. It just isn't the same. Hello and welcome to Ayen's Video Game Reviews. Have you ever wanted to make your own RPG? Well, now you can with RPG Maker. RPG Maker is a series of games that came out for the PC starting in 1997. A console version of the franchise came out a few months later after the first game, but we didn't get it until 3 years later. The game I'm looking at today came out for the PlayStation 2 in the mid-2000s, making the third game in the PlayStation franchise and the first to use 3D models. If you're used to the PC version, then playing with a controller is going to be a hard adjustment to make. I finished a sentence! They have a pre-made sample called Dear Braveheart where you can learn the basics of how the game is played and what a finished product looks like. Your main character takes so long to walk that you have no other option but to run. There's no backstep either, which becomes annoying with how slow he turns around. Is the guy wanting to be a Resident Evil character? To make matters worse, at times it lags, making it even slower. The rest is your pretty standard RPG stuff with the added pleasure of knowing you made it all yourself. You have NPCs, shops, dungeons, monsters, bosses, and a world map. Battle system is about as straightforward as you can get. I can't be too hard on it since it's an editing tool first and a game second. You have attack, defend, items, skills, and an escape that never works, alongside an annoying encounter wait for Dear Braveheart at least. Yeah, it's starting to feel like a real RPG alright. There's a place called Sample where you can learn more about using RPG Maker that acts a lot like like beginner guides in most RPGs that exist. Must appreciate it. Into the editing tools, you have 4 categories: world, characters, story and rules, and database. World allows you to create fields, towns, and dungeons to use in your game, being capable of drawing fields with a pen and the use of different terrains. Or you can just load up a pre-sample, because who got time for that shit? No sense having a beautiful world if there are no characters for it. From here you can build classes, characters, and monsters to fight each other and to blow the world you created. You can also make different attacks, spells, effects, put monsters into parties, and make items and equipment to use on your quest. I was working on an earthbender, so let's see. What? This is all the earth attacks you have? What a whip! There are a lot of good monster designs to choose from, even if they are a little generic. Goblins, orcs, skeletons, you get the idea. We have some shagons too, because no RPG is complete without a shagon. Thirdly is the story and rules, where you can edit the storyteller, events, and story settings. Storyteller is a place where you can create different cutscenes using backgrounds, character animation, and type in what you want them to say. And you can make them say whatever you want. Whatever you want. Oh my god. Oh, stop. I swear I had more fun shagging around in the storyteller than I did the whole game. You know what? Fuck the game. I'll just stay here. If that whiz can change the weather, why doesn't she just make it sunny all the time? Why is the queen by herself? Why are those kids talking about monsters' private parts? How does that elf know who I am? Why is that king so horny? Why is that king so horny? Why is the devil in this game? Okay, I think I wasted enough time on this. Events are scenarios you can program into your game. The use of event codes aid in that fact, but they're probably among the more complicated parts of the game alongside figuring out stats. These are one of the few times you're going to want to read the instructions before diving into everything. Story settings is where you decide what the party of your game will be, the prologue and game over screens, as well as giving the name of the story and that of the author. Then you can preview what you have in your game so far to make sure everything is working correctly. Once everything is done, you can save your game to a memory card and share it with a friend, provided you have enough space on your memory card. RPG Maker takes up a ridiculous amount of room just to save one game file. I hardly had anything on the memory card I chose, and it still wasn't enough. The question you have to ask yourself at the end of the day is, do I have the time and patience to invest in this? If the answer is no, then chances are you aren't going to get the most out of it. A game like this is more for people who enjoy creating video games, more specifically RPGs, and enjoy sharing that experience with friends, and that's something I just can't get behind. I don't want to spend hours making towns and dungeons or working on stats, and whoever thought using a D-pad to type specs and descriptions when the PC version has a keyboard you can use deserves to be hit over the head with a blunt instrument. That said, the finished product isn't half bad. RPG Maker obviously can't compare to professionally made games, but the gameplay is fairly decent and I enjoy playing Deal Braveheart. Looking forward to see what awaited me in the next town or dungeon. I can also understand why anyone would feel a sense of accomplishment playing something they made with their own hands, even if it's limited to the technology available at the time. So while it's not for me, if that's something you enjoy doing, then by all means give it a go. Or play the most recent PC game, whatever floats your boat. Try it. I'm Ayen, and I'll catch you the week after the next when we go from making our own games to stalling in them, and the concept you could say was ahead of its time. Get me out! Before the Kinect, before PlayStation Move, and before the Wii, there was iToy. A simple camera developed by Sony in 2003 for motion sensor gaming. All you have to do is plug it into the PS2, set it up to where you want to play, change the brightness accordingly, and after that, you're ready to play. The first game to make use of the iToy was the iToy Play, which came out the same year, allowing you to personally interact with the game, overcoming different challenges and obstacles layered throughout, making you feel like you're actually in the game with all the different characters. It was a very different experience to what many of us were used to at the time, paving the way for many more like it to follow suit, which can be seen as a good or a bad thing depending on your point of view. Without further ado, let's dive into the iToy Play. You start off with a message from the game explaining how to use the iToy before coming to the main menu. Be sure your lighting is set to complement your room. A fact I can't stress enough. Otherwise, the camera won't pick up certain hand gestures and it will make playing the game a lot harder, or easier in some cases. First thing you get access to is the playroom. This is where you can just shoot the breeze in different refinements for as long as you see fit. A great way to test out the iToy's function right away before diving into the main game. These rooms include, but are not limited to, underwater, mirrors, materialization, and mimicry. Stop it. Back off. You fuss. I'm a doo-doo head. How dare you? Fuck you, man. Why, you little... Then there's a room with no effects that can get pretty boring after a while. Monster! From there you have the main game. I can play with up to 4 people. Since I have nobody else to play with, this will mainly be with you in the single player game. Before you can do anything else, you have to set up your profile. I am way too tall for this game. Oh, almost forgot. The game is always telling you to step into the outline shown in the middle, but I managed to play through the game without having to stand in that one spot, so it never affected my gaming experience. At most, I think it's just to give you an idea where to stand. The main game has 12 modes overall. Beat Freak, Kung Fu, Wissy Wassy. Because that's what kids want to do in their spare time. Clean. Soccer Craze, Boston Chump, UFO Shuggler, Slapstream, Plate Spinner, Disco Stars, Ghost Eliminator, Mirror Tom, and Rocket Wumble. Each mode has a time limit and the goal is to rack up as many points as you can get for a high score. When you manage a high score, you'll be asked to pose for a pistol. After that, you can either try to beat your high score or invite friends over to try it. They're all as straightforward as you can get in the game, and mainly just require you to flare your arms around for 3 minutes. You can shoot by putting yourself closer to the camera, but what's the fun in that? If you're not the most energetic person in the world, then iToy may not be for you. My shoulders still hurt from all the different game modes I went through for this review. I need masseuse. A lot of the games require effort, timing, and precision to reach your goal. Whether it be busting boom bosses, beating up ninjas, or hitting lights, you need to be ready to get the best score you can. Out of all of them, I think Disco Stars is the toughest in this regard. There is no room to mess around if you want to get anywhere. One of the strangest modes is Mirror Time, which is like the mirror play when only you have to release the reflection of Q out of the mirror while avoiding little wobble wobble. This becomes tricky since the mirror can be inverted and flipped upside down and you don't know what's up or what's down. You need a second to figure it out to avoid wobble wobble, but take too long and Q's reflection fades away. Frankly, the best mode is where you get to hit people.
Ready. Fight.
Oh man, that's awesome. Fun-In's in trouble now!
Don't give your opponent too much room, or they'll come after you with a combo. You can't be tired yet. Try knocking...
Ayen Mania is running wild! He did it! He won the max! You can even record your own video messages, ranging from 10 to 60 seconds. I'm in a video on YouTube. We need to go deeper. There are different backgrounds you can choose, one for each message, and then you can play it back. Though as you can see, the audio quality hasn't aged very well. Back then it was fine. I used to use this portion of the game more than any other as a kid. I guess I was always meant to make videos. As you can bet, the motion sensors aren't always the best. Even after fixing the lighting issue, I still had trouble getting the level on the bottom right corner of the Rocket Rumble game to work. I just stuck with the one on the left. iToy Play doesn't cease being a hands-on experience when you get to the closing credits. It's the same as the rest of the game, and it's honestly refreshing to experience. The game wasn't afraid to experiment with something new and reach a group of people who may not normally play video games, making you feel more involved because it's literally you and Dale. Plus, you get a good workout while you play. So, if you're looking for a game you can just pick up and play with some friends, then look no further. I'm Ayen, and I'll see you all next week.